A mission begins. Captain Alex Mason stood on the bridge of the starship Vanguard, gazing out into the inky blackness of space. The mission was straightforward: investigate the anomaly detected on the outskirts of the Andromeda Galaxy. The crew was tense with anticipation as the Vanguard hurtled through the void at faster-than-light speeds, the hum of the engines a constant reminder of the extraordinary journey they were undertaking. "Captain, we are approaching the coordinates," said Lieutenant Sarah Hay, the ship's astrogation officer, her voice steady despite the underlying excitement. Mason nodded, his eyes never leaving the view screen. "Bring us out of FTL, Lieutenant. Let's see what we're dealing with." The ship shuddered as it decelerated, the stars outside stretching and then snapping back into their normal positions. In front of them, a massive shimmering spacecraft hovered, dwarfing the Vanguard. Its design was unlike anything the crew had ever seen, an intricate lattice of metallic structures interwoven with pulsating energy conduits that cast an eerie, otherworldly glow. "What is that?" whispered Ensign Daniels, the youngest member of the crew, his wide eyes fixed on the alien vessel. "Scanners can't identify the material, Captain," Hay reported, her fingers dancing over the console. "It's not on any of our databases." Before they could react, a blinding light enveloped their ship. Mason shielded his eyes, his heart pounding. "Brace for impact." But there was no impact. Instead, the light intensified, and in an instant, they found themselves standing on an alien bridge. The cold metallic floor beneath their feet was a stark contrast to the familiar warmth of the Vanguard. Standing before them was a being of immense stature, at least 7 feet tall, with sleek metallic skin and glowing emerald eyes. His presence radiated an aura of power and confidence that was almost palpable. He wore elaborate armor that seemed to merge with his body, each movement fluid and precise. "I am Zur, the commander of the Xerian fleet," the alien declared in a condescending tone. "Your weapons are trash. Surrender now, and we might spare your primitive species." Mason squared his shoulders, his gaze steady. "We will not surrender. We came here to explore, not to be conquered." Zur laughed, a sound that resonated through the metallic halls, sending shivers down the spines of the crew. "Very well, humans. Prepare to be annihilated." The disruptor plan, back on the Vanguard, the crew was disoriented but quickly scrambled to their stations. Lieutenant Hayes, the ship's weapons specialist, analyzed the data from their brief encounter with Zur. Her analytical mind raced through possibilities. "Our weapons might be primitive by their standards, but we've got one advantage they don't know about," she said with a glint in her eye. Mason, now back on his bridge, nodded, understanding her implication. The experimental energy disruptor. The disruptor was a prototype weapon capable of destabilizing any energy-based technology. It was their last desperate hope against the Xerians. Mason turned to his crew, his voice firm. "Prepare the disruptor. We need to catch them off guard." As the Vanguard engaged the alien ship, Zur's mocking voice echoed through their comms. "Is this the best you can do? Your weapons are nothing but sparks against our shields." The alien ship's sleek, unblemished surface seemed to mock the barrage of missiles and laser fire from the Vanguard. Zur's fleet hovered menacingly in the background, a reminder of the overwhelming force they faced. But Mason and his crew had a plan. While their conventional weapons distracted the Xerian defenses, Hayes and her team prepared the disruptor. The device hummed to life, its core glowing with an ominous blue light. "Disruptor ready," Hayes reported, her voice tight with tension. Mason took a deep breath. Fire. A beam of pure energy lanced out from the Vanguard, striking the heart of the alien ship. For a moment, everything went silent. Then, the Xerian ship shuddered, its once impenetrable shields flickering like a dying flame. Zur's voice, now filled with alarm, rang out. "What have you done?" Hayes monitored the disruptor output, sweat beading on her forehead. "It's working, Captain. Their systems are destabilizing." The alien ship's lights flickered, and small explosions erupted along its surface. The once confident Xur was now facing an unexpected challenge from the primitive humans. Mason seized the moment. All power to weapons. Target their propulsion systems. The Vanguard's cannons roared to life, sending volley after volley into the crippled alien vessel. Explosions rippled across the Xerian ship's surface, and Xur's fleet, sensing their commander's vulnerability, hesitated. On the alien bridge, Xur's frustration was palpable. Impossible. How can such crude technology defeat us? Hayes, monitoring the disruptor output, warned Mason, "We can't maintain this power level for long. The disruptor's overheating." "Just a little longer," Mason urged. With one final concentrated burst from the disruptor, the Xerian ship's propulsion systems were obliterated. The once mighty vessel drifted, powerless and at the mercy of the humans. Xur's voice, now filled with a mix of rage and disbelief, echoed through the Vanguard's comms. "You may have won this battle, humans, but you cannot comprehend the forces you have unleashed. My people will come for you." Mason stepped forward, his expression stern. "If your people come, they will find us ready. We will defend our world and our right to exist." As the connection severed, the crew of the Vanguard let out a collective breath they didn't realize they were holding. They had faced the unknown and emerged victorious, but the weight of Xur's warning lingered in the air. The battle was won, but the war had only just begun. Aftermath and repairs. The Vanguard drifted in space, the aftermath of the battle leaving the crew both exhilarated and apprehensive. The alien vessel, now a crippled giant, floated nearby, its once imposing structure marred by the scars of the fight. Captain Mason and his crew knew that their victory, though significant, was but a temporary reprieve. Back on the Vanguard, Lieutenant Sarah Hayes and her team worked tirelessly to repair the damage inflicted during the skirmish. The ship's energy disruptor had proven to be their ace in the hole, but its use had come at a cost. The prototype was never designed for prolonged use, and the strain had left it dangerously unstable. "Captain," Hayes said, wiping sweat from her brow as she approached Mason in the command center. "The disruptor is fried. We might be able to repair it, but it'll take time and resources we don't have out here." Mason nodded, his expression grim. "Understood, Lieutenant. What's our status on conventional weapons and shields?" Hayes consulted her data pad. "Shields are at 40%. Weapon systems are operational, but we're low on ammunition. We need to resupply and make significant repairs before we're ready for another encounter like that." Mason turned to his first officer, Commander Elena Rodriguez. "Elena, how long before we can return to base for resupply and repairs?" Rodriguez checked the navigation systems. "We can set a course for the nearest supply station, but it'll take us at least 2 weeks to get there at sublight speeds, and there's no guarantee you won't encounter more Xerian patrols along the way." Mason frowned, considering their options. "We need to be ready for anything. Lieutenant Hayes, prioritize repairs to the shields and weapon systems. We'll make do with what we have until we can get back to base." The crew worked around the clock, patching up the ship as best they could. Spirits were high despite the circumstances. Their victory had proven that they were capable of standing up to the Xerians, even if only temporarily. Mason knew that their encounter with Xur was just the beginning. The Xerians would not take their defeat lightly, and more battles were surely on the horizon. As the Vanguard limped through space, Mason called a meeting with his senior officers. "We need to be prepared for the worst," he said, looking around the room at his wary but determined crew. "The Xerians know we're out here, and they won't stop until they've crushed us. We need to stay one step ahead and use every advantage we have." Lieutenant Hayes spoke up. "Captain, if we can repair the disruptor and refine its design, we might have a fighting chance. We learned a lot from that last encounter, and I think we can make improvements." Mason nodded. "Do it. Whatever it takes, we need that disruptor operational. It's our best shot at leveling the playing field." The days turned into weeks as the Vanguard made its slow journey back to the supply station. The crew remained vigilant, always on the lookout for signs of Xerian activity. They knew that their fight was far from over, but they also knew that they had the resolve and ingenuity to face whatever came their way. As they approached the supply station, Mason felt a renewed sense of determination. The Vanguard had been tested in battle and had emerged stronger for it. They would continue to fight, to explore, and to defend their place in the galaxy. A new alliance. Upon reaching the supply station, the Vanguard's crew was greeted with a mix of relief and urgency. The station's personnel quickly set to work, resupplying and repairing the battle-worn ship. Captain Mason and his senior officers met with Admiral Jameson, the commanding officer of the station, to discuss their next steps. Captain Mason, your encounter with the Xerians has given us valuable insight into their capabilities, Admiral Jameson said, his tone serious. We need to share this information with our allies and prepare a coordinated defense. Mason nodded. Agreed, Admiral. The Xerians are a formidable enemy, but we've proven that they can be defeated. We need to build on that momentum. Jameson leaned forward, his expression grave. There's more. We've received intelligence that the Xerians are mobilizing a larger fleet. They intend to launch a full-scale invasion of our territory. The room fell silent as the gravity of the situation sank in. Mason's mind raced as he considered their options. We need allies. If we can form a coalition of species willing to stand against the Xerians, we might have a chance. Jameson nodded. I've already reached out to several potential allies. There's a delegation from the Thalani, a technologically advanced species, arriving tomorrow. They might be willing to join our cause. The next day, the Thalani delegation arrived at the supply station. Led by Ambassador Thala, the Thalani were a graceful and enigmatic species, their advanced technology a testament to their intelligence and innovation. Ambassador Thala, welcome, Mason greeted, extending his hand. Captain Mason, Admiral Jameson, Thala replied, his voice melodic and calm. We have heard of your encounter with the Xerians. It is clear that they pose a significant threat to all of us. Jameson spoke up. We believe that a united front is our best chance of stopping the Xerians. Will you join us in this fight? Thala considered this for a moment before nodding. The Thalani have long valued peace and exploration, but we understand the necessity of defense. We will stand with you. With the Thalani's advanced technology and the Vanguard's experience, the coalition began to take shape. Other species soon joined, each bringing their unique strengths to the alliance. The Xerians had underestimated the resilience and determination of the galaxy's inhabitants, and now they faced a united front. As the coalition prepared for the impending conflict, Mason felt a sense of hope. They had faced impossible odds before and emerged victorious. With their newfound allies, they were ready to take on the Xerians and defend their homes. The Vanguard, now fully repaired and resupplied, stood at the forefront of the coalition fleet. Mason addressed his crew, his voice filled with resolve. We have faced the unknown and proven our strength. Now, we stand united with our allies to defend our galaxy. The Xerians may be powerful, but we have something they lack, unity and the will to fight for our freedom. The crew cheered, their spirits lifted by Mason's words. As the coalition fleet set course for the Xerian territory, they knew that the battle ahead would be their greatest challenge yet. But they were ready, and together, they would forge a future free from the threat of the Xerians. The battle for Andromeda. The coalition fleet, led by the Vanguard, approached Xerian territory with caution. The tension was palpable as they prepared for the imminent battle. The combined forces of the various species created a formidable armada, each ship a testament to the unity and determination of the coalition. All ships, prepare for engagement, Mason ordered, his voice calm but commanding. This is it, our moment to stand against the Xerians and protect our home. As the fleet advanced, they were met by a massive Xerian armada. The sheer number of enemy ships was daunting, but the coalition stood firm. The Xerians opened fire, and the battle began in earnest. Explosions split up the void as ships exchanged volleys of energy blasts and missiles. The Vanguard, at the center of the coalition fleet, fought with unmatched ferocity. Lieutenant Hayes, now a seasoned veteran, expertly coordinated the ship's weapon systems, while Rodriguez managed the defensive maneuvers. "Disruptor ready, Captain," Hayes reported, her voice steady despite the chaos around them. "Fire," Mason commanded. The disruptor, now fully repaired and enhanced with Thalani technology, unleashed a powerful beam that cut through the Xerian shields, causing devastating damage to their flagship. The enemy vessel shuddered under the assault, its once impenetrable defenses failing. "Captain, we've breached their shields," Rodriguez announced. "Focus all fire on their command center," Mason ordered. "Let's finish this." The Vanguard and the coalition ships concentrated their firepower on the crippled Xerian flagship. Explosions erupted along its surface, and the once mighty vessel began to break apart. Zer's voice, filled with desperation and anger, echoed through the Vanguard's comms. "You cannot win. Our empire will crush you." Mason responded with determination. "Your reign of terror ends here, Zer. We fight for our freedom, and we will not be defeated." With one final powerful strike, the Xerian flagship was destroyed, its debris scattering into the void. The coalition fleet cheered as the remaining Xerian ships began to retreat, their morale shattered by the loss of their leader. The battle for Andromeda was over, but the war against the Xerians was far from finished. The coalition had proven that unity and determination could overcome even the most formidable foes. As the fleet regrouped and assessed their losses, Mason addressed the coalition leaders. "This victory is just the beginning," he said, his voice resolute. "We have shown the Xerians that we will not be conquered. Together we will continue to fight until their threat is eliminated and our galaxy is safe." The coalition leaders agreed, their resolve strengthened by their shared triumph. The Vanguard, now a symbol of hope and resistance, led the way as the coalition prepared for the next phase of their campaign. Pursuit of peace. In the aftermath of the battle for Andromeda, the coalition began to plan their next steps. The victory had given them a much-needed boost in morale, but they knew that the Xerians would not give up easily. The coalition leaders convened to discuss their strategy. "Captain Mason, your leadership has been instrumental in our success," Admiral Jameson said. "We need to capitalize on this momentum and take the fight to the Xerians' home territory." Mason nodded. "Agreed, Admiral. We need to keep the pressure on them. If we can disrupt their command structure and supply lines, we can weaken their ability to wage war." Ambassador Thaler added, "The Thalani have advanced reconnaissance technology. We can use it to locate key Xerian installations and strike where they are most vulnerable." The coalition began to mobilize their forces, preparing for a series of strategic strikes against the Xerians. The Vanguard, once again at the forefront, led a task force into enemy territory. The goal was to cripple the Xerians' infrastructure and force them into a position where they could no longer sustain their war efforts. As the task force ventured deeper into Xerian space, they encountered pockets of resistance. Each battle tested their resolve, but the coalition's unity and determination carried them through. The Vanguard's disruptor proved to be a critical asset, disabling Xerian defenses and allowing the coalition to strike decisive blows. During a particularly intense engagement, Mason received a communication from a Xerian defector. The message was simple but promising. "There are those among us who seek peace." Mason's curiosity was piqued. He arranged a covert meeting with the defector, who revealed that not all Xerians supported the war. There was a faction within their society that desired an end to the conflict and was willing to help the coalition in exchange for assurances of safety and autonomy. The defector's information proved invaluable. With their help, the coalition was able to identify and strike key targets, significantly weakening the Xerians' war machine. As their resources dwindled, the Xerians began to consider the possibility of peace. Mason knew that this was their chance. He reached out to the Xerian leadership, proposing a ceasefire and peace talks. The Xerians, now facing a determined and united coalition, reluctantly agreed. The peace talks were held on neutral ground, with representatives from both sides present. Mason and Ambassador Thaler led the coalition's delegation, while Zur and his advisors represented the Xerians. The negotiations were tense, with both sides wary of each other. "Captain Mason, you have proven yourself a worthy adversary," Zur admitted. "But we cannot continue this war. It is clear that our people desire peace." Mason nodded. "We seek peace as well, Zur, but it must be a peace that ensures the safety and freedom of all species in this galaxy." After days of intense negotiations, an agreement was reached. The Xerians would withdraw from occupied territories, disarm their fleet, and work with the coalition to rebuild and maintain peace. In exchange, the coalition would guarantee their autonomy and provide support for their transition to a peaceful society. The signing of the peace treaty marked the end of the war. The coalition celebrated their hard-won victory, knowing that their unity and determination had made it possible. The Vanguard, now a symbol of hope and resilience, continued its mission of exploration and defense, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. A new dawn. With the war behind them, the galaxy entered a new era of peace and cooperation. The coalition, now a symbol of unity, continued to work together to rebuild and explore the vast reaches of space. The Vanguard, having played a pivotal role in the conflict, was at the forefront of these efforts. Captain Mason and his crew were hailed as heroes, their bravery and determination celebrated across the galaxy. But for Mason, the true reward was the knowledge that they had secured a future of peace for their people. As the Vanguard embarked on new missions of exploration, Mason reflected on the journey that had brought them here. They had faced impossible odds and emerged victorious, their unity and resilience proving stronger than any enemy. One day, while on a routine patrol, the Vanguard received a distress signal from a remote planet. Mason ordered the ship to investigate, always ready to lend a helping hand to those in need. Upon arrival, they discovered a colony in distress, suffering from a severe shortage of resources. The Vanguard's crew quickly mobilized to provide aid, sharing their supplies and expertise to help the colony recover. As they worked alongside the colonists, Mason was reminded of the importance of their mission. The galaxy was vast and full of challenges, but as long as they stood together, they could overcome anything. Lieutenant Hayes approached Mason, her expression thoughtful. "Captain, do you ever wonder what the future holds for us?" Mason smiled. "Every day, Lieutenant, but I know that whatever comes our way, we'll face it together." The Vanguard has proven that unity and determination can achieve the impossible, and as long as we hold on to those values, our future will be bright. The crew of the Vanguard continued their journey, exploring new worlds and forging new alliances. The peace they had fought so hard to achieve was now a reality, and they were determined to protect it. As they ventured into the unknown, Mason felt a sense of fulfillment. The galaxy was a place of endless possibilities, and the Vanguard was ready to explore every one of them. With their unity and resolve, they would continue to write their story, one chapter at a time. And so the Vanguard sailed through the stars, a beacon of hope and a testament to the power of unity. Their journey was far from over, but they faced the future with confidence and determination, ready to meet whatever challenges lay ahead.